Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and I am sorry I'm just a little late tonight. It was completely unavoidable. Just things didn't go quite the way I had it planned or intended or whatever the heck it is. I see there's nobody on here right now, but we know that will probably change in the next couple of minutes or so. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get set up here, so you guys can actually see what's going on. As you can see, I got my Kodak Easy Share. I'm going to make sure that this actually videotapes. The thing I want to do on this, hold on, is when it comes to this kind of a presentation, I don't want people having to come to this live stream to watch the material that they need to watch to learn what they need to learn. The thing about it is that if they have to come to a live stream, they have to watch the whole thing, and it's a really big pain in the royal tushy, and they don't want to do that. Whereas when I do this kind of thing, I can narrow it down, cut it down, that kind of thing. I think one of the things I'll do is I'm going to put on my Twitter. Just give me a second here. I'll go ahead and put this on my Twitter. Oh, okay. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put on my Twitter here that I'm doing a live stream right now. I think I will also notify Crazy Josh Cravey and let him know I'm doing a live stream as well. I'll get that out of there. Yeah. That way he'll know that I'm doing a live stream. I am sure that in a couple of seconds or whatever, D. Lucan's Night will probably be joining me. Let me fix this one thing real quick. If you're out there, D. Lucan's Night, or whoever wants to be out there or whatever, let me know that you're out there, because all I see is one friend, but I have no idea who it is. I want to fix one little thing, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's presentation. I may... Oh, dang, I didn't bring my book in here. Okay. I may have to leave for just a second to get my book, and then I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah, I think that's precisely what I'm going to have to do. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. I got to go get my book. Be right back. There. That's better. All right. Now, I'm sure you guys, if you're watching this live stream right now, and boy, that's terrible. Let's get this a little closer here. Oh, it's sitting on my shoe. Yeah, that went well. Oh, uh-oh. That went terrible, didn't it? Let's see. Can I get it? Boy, this could be rough. That's kind of where I need it to be. I tell you what, let me see, can I move it down just there? That's better. Hey, we got it all set. Hey, boy, I got 2 people watching, but I don't know who you are. So if you can kind of leave a little comment in the live stream, let me know who you are so I know exactly who I'm watching, you know. Yeah, you get the whole picture here. I just need to know who's watching me because I don't know. I mean, it could be Bingo Bongo Billy for all I know. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so what's the topic of tonight's presentation? If all goes well, tomorrow I may run yet another live stream. It just depends on what happens tomorrow. I don't know. You know how unpredictable this is. If I do, it'll be roughly around the same time. It'll be either about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. It just depends on what happens. I got a busy day ahead of me tomorrow, so you know, my life is not all that predictable. So it may happen, it may not, but because it might happen, just kind of keep an eye out, and maybe it will. One of the biggest problems is that people don't realize I live in Illinois and 9 o'clock is Central Time here. I don't know what time it is there because I don't know where you live. That becomes a problem. I just have no idea where you live. So hopefully I should have mentioned that, and I'm sorry I didn't. I know I have mentioned in other videos that I do live in Illinois. And I'm sure that people have watched enough of my Looking for Lincoln videos that they have come to the realization I actually live in Illinois. I mean, how else did I get all those Looking for Lincoln signs? Duh. But, yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that. It's like, and that's my fault. It really is. I should have said that. But anyway, at least now you know from now on. If I say 9 o'clock, I'm thinking my time. I didn't realize you were in Massachusetts. I truly apologize for that. I really do. But for all you from now on, if you guys are watching my live stream, it's Illinois time. So if I say 9 o'clock, it's Illinois time. All right. But anyway, what is this all about? Oh, and boy, I kicked this with my leg a few minutes ago, and whoopsie. Let's draw that again and that again. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So what is this all about? Well, I'm going to show you that in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my easy share. The main reason I'm doing this is because, like I said a minute ago, I was trying to make sure that people didn't have to search through my live stream to actually watch this particular presentation. They could just watch it on their own and not have to deal with the live stream to go along with it. But anyway, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting all this correct. Let's first turn on the easy share. All right. Now, after I present all this material, if you want to talk about whatever, I am more than willing to listen. This will not be a very long presentation. Hopefully, we can just kind of traverse this. But I think my students will definitely need to know all this. Let's see now. Can I get this without massively tipping over? Ha! Isn't that nice? Come on, really? Let's see here. Ah! Aha! Ha ha ha! We got it! And I think they're seeing all of it. Okay, so bear with me for the short presentation, and then afterwards we can talk about anything you want because I don't have any other notes. This is just the one video, and I gotta make sure I got the notes here. Anyway, if I do manage to go live tomorrow night, I am going to cover closed captioning, and I'm going to not only do it in the live stream, but I'm also going to have it videotaped so that you guys can actually see it. That way you don't have to go through a whole live stream. You get the idea. Anyway, let me go ahead and turn on this Kodak Easy Share, and we'll start this particular presentation. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted, the speed learner, and I am doing a live stream right now, but I'm also going to do this one particular presentation tonight, and this is going to involve the De Beers Corporation. You're going to say, what does De Beers have to do with anything? I thought you were going to talk about Tacitus and Plutarch and Juvenal. I thought you were going to talk about all that. Well, we are. But I think the clue here is about the De Beers Corporation. Now, I am going to do a separate video about the De Beers Corporation in a day or so, and I'm going to teach you how to remember and memorize all those facts, okay? As a matter of fact, on the live stream, I'm going to ask my audience to help me design a lesson for the De Beers Corporation and the memory techniques we're going to use to remember all the information about them. But you say, well, what does De Beers have to do with Tacitus or Plutarch or Juvenal? Well, it all comes to a book. I'm going to show it here on my live stream first. It says, After Paul Left Corinth, and it's by Bruce Winter. And I'm now going to show you guys. It says, After Paul Left Corinth by Bruce Winter. Okay. And it's going to involve these words right up here, okay? And I will copy these words, all of them, into the description of the video that I have separately from this particular video here. Now, if you happen to own this book, I want you to go ahead and turn to page 127. If you don't, please go ahead and get it. And if you do, go back to this video, turn to page 127, and I'm going to tell you what this all involves. Now, if, what's her name? Hang on just a second. If Michelle Guido joins us, and I hope she does, she's going to learn a lot today. There is a Facebook, there's a Facebook page called The Transforming Wife, or The Transformed Wife. I don't remember what it is. And some of the stuff that the transformed wife says is 100% true. Some of it is just a little bit distorted. And we're going to fix the distorted part right here, right now. Okay, but to do that, we have to turn to page 127. Because if you look on the bottom of the page, the author of this book made references to Plutarch, Tacitus, and of course Juvenal. And when he did, he listed some things. As for Plutarch, he listed, we'll put it right here, 138D. Okay. Now, when this presentation's over with, I'm going to cut off my Easy Share camera. And when I do, I'm going to put hyperlinks in that particular video so you guys can kind of follow along with what I'm doing here. So don't worry, you're not going to miss the thing. I'm going to have the hyperlinks down below. Golly gee, I wish I'd have saved those and sent them to myself. Anyway, like I said, they will be in the description box in the separate video when you watch it, okay? So bear with me. But anyway, as I'm now talking to the Easy Share, I wanted to let you know, if you'll take a look at the first hyperlink, the Plutarch presentation comes up. And if you'll look on the left-hand side of the text, you're going to see numbers. And as you see numbers, there's going to be sections between those numbers, and you're going to see the letters A, B, C, and D. And that's how you reference what was being referenced by Bruce Winter. And that's how that works. Now then, Bruce Winter made two other references. One was to Tacitus, and the other one was to Juvenal. Now, when he listed Tacitus, and you're going to see a hyperlink, there's going to be a second one down there, and that's to Tacitus. And one of the things he did, let's just remove that real quick. One of the things he did, my finger's gonna be all red by the time this gets done, is this is from the work The Annals, okay, The Annals of Tacitus. And what he did was he listed 11, 27, 1. Now, if you don't know what 11, 27, 1 means, you're not going to be able to find what you're looking for. All right. If you look on the, I believe it's either the left or the right-hand side. I'm not really sure if it's the left side of the text or the right side of the text, okay? The annals are divided into books, okay? And the 11 here is the 11th book of the annals, all right? The 27 here is the 27th chapter of the 11th book. And the 1 here is a line number, okay? And I hate to say it, but these line numbers don't exactly all line up. I really hate to say it. But if you will go not to 11, 27, 1, because that's not going to contain the vital information we actually need. Instead, what I'd like to do and see you do instead is to go to Tacitus 15. That's book 15, okay? 37, which means you're going to go to chapter 37. Now, I know he has a 9 here, but that 9 really doesn't represent much of anything. If you will go to 1537, you're going to find some of these words, okay? And I'll explain that a little bit later in this video because I have a lot to tell you. Now, what about juvenile? Okay, now juvenile has an even bigger trick. And I'll explain that in just a second too. Juvenile goes like this. We have 2, 1, 1, 9. And then we have this double F. Why the double F? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly why there's a double F there, because it's saying go to line 119, because in juvenile they have books, but they don't have chapters, okay? They have a set of lines instead. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to book 2, line 119, and then, because it's called juvenile satire, and I found it, and there's a hyperlink to that right down below. Well, there will be when I get all said and done. There will be an actual hyperlink right down below, and you'll go to juvenile, book 2, 119, and this double F. And what double F means, it says start at line 119 and read on. Read on past 119. And there's a reason for this. And you're going to find this out in just a second. But anyway, what does all of this have to do with De Beers? Well, let me ask you guys something. And if you're watching me later on after I get done with this live stream, go ahead and leave your answer down here in the comments below. But if you're here in the live stream right now, I want to see if you can answer this question. What would De Beers have to do with Tacitus, Plutarch, and Juvenal? And I'll give you a clue. What does De Beers do? What is the main function of their company? Think about it. I'm going to give you just a second here to think, and then you tell me what De Beers has to do with those works. And the clue is, like I said, it's their main line of business. What do they normally do in their main line of business? Think about it. Just for a second. Then I'll explain everything. And diamonds for what specific purpose? Now, I know that people wear diamonds all the time, but what is the most common reason why they wear diamonds? I mean, you don't just normally wear a diamond ring. Sometimes it's for a very specific purpose. What would be that purpose? Okay, jewelry, that's cool, but for what special occasion? Maybe I should say it, for what special occasion? What would be the most special occasion to wear that kind of a diamond? Give up. Ah, now you got it. A wedding. That's exactly right. A wedding. So this is what it's going to be all about. Okay. Now, this is going to involve a biblical scripture. It is St. Paul in his writing to the Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 6. Now then, Mr. Winter was trying to prove that the ladies that had these coverings on were married. Now, how did he prove that? He had 3 ways of doing it, okay? And I'm going to show you the 3 ways. Now, I want you to take a look at these. And boy, that screwed that one up. Okay, I want you to take a look at these 4 words on the left. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And please do not ask me to pronounce these because there is no way I'm going to pronounce them. But anyway, what are these 4 words? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. The first one is the Greek word for a little girl. Okay, this would be somebody that was 16 or under. Now, back in their culture, anybody that was 16 or under was treated like a juvenile. They couldn't speak in public places, that kind of thing. They were definitely under the authority of their father, and so they weren't considered adults. So they couldn't make an adult presentation, that kind of thing. Okay, I totally agree with you on that. You're right. It is really kind of hard to read this board. When I make the other part of the video, I'm going to actually put all of these words into the description of that box so you'll be able to see it. So you're not going to miss anything, I promise. So hang in there because that will be done. I guarantee you those words will, and they'll be crystal clear. You'll be able to see them for yourself. I'll literally copy and paste from my notes directly into the description box so you won't miss a thing. Okay, I promise. You will not miss a thing. But anyway, the one at the top, and I'm going to list these exactly the same way on the description box as I have them listed here. So you'll be able to see that, and I'll even make sure to indicate which one was young girl and so on and so forth. Okay, I promise you will. I guarantee you will have that. So bear with me on this one. Anyway, the second one, which is kind of long here, is the Greek word for young lady. This would be somebody that was over 16 years old but wasn't quite married yet. This would be, well, like I say, somebody that was betrothed or somebody that was in the process of being betrothed, because usually in that period of time, we're talking about back in the 1st century, they usually was trying to get betrothed by the time they were 16 years old. Okay, so that's where this one comes up from. The one on the very bottom here, and I will make sure that everything's all set up. This one is the word for widow. Okay, so in other words, somebody was married and then their spouse died. In this particular case, this would be a female widow because they had a different word for a male widow. Okay, so now we've eliminated young girls, people that were betrothed, and keep in mind that even though they were betrothed, they were still under the authority of their father until they got married. And then we have the word for widow. So what's left? Well, this third word right here is usually translated lady or woman. Okay, but it's very specific on this. I'm going to show here that most of the time this was translated as wife. And I will show you exactly how that works in a little bit. Okay, so the first part of this proof is saying, well, we've eliminated young girls, we've eliminated people that were betrothed, we've eliminated people that were widows. Now, this could also refer to a prostitute, because if a person wasn't married and they were still active, as you know, you get the idea, then they would have been considered a prostitute. So that could be used for the word prostitute. But usually this was used for wife. But we have to make a connection between this word and another word that we're going to talk about over here. And when you put the two together, it definitely confirms that it's wife. Okay? Now, all right. Now, Mr. Winter, as he made his discussion, was also then referring to this word right over here. And these are various forms of this word right here. Now, you have to kind of split this off because this part of it, this part is a prefix, and this is actually the part that has these forms. Okay? And I think the pronunciation of this is kata-cal something or another. But anyway, you strip off the kata, and this cal, whatever it is, and I'm sure that somebody's going to correct me on this someday, and I'm going to be thrilled when they do, okay? But this here is a verb. It is an actual ancient Greek verb that means covering, okay? But the thing is, if you combine this covering word with this word, which is woman, then you start getting a clear picture of how this could actually be a wife. Okay? Now then, where do you find this? Where do you find any form of this? Well, it's not really this prefix here, because you're not going to find this prefix in Tacitus. You're not going to find this prefix in Plutarch. You're not going to find this prefix in Juvenal. You're not going to find the prefix, but you're going to find this verb. You will find it, and I'll show you exactly how to find this. Okay. Let's go through the Plutarch document in question here is called Advice to the Bride and Groom. Okay. Now, under the letter D, you remember how I had that 138D? Under that, you're going to see a number 1 and a number 2. So you're suddenly going, we go to number 138, we see the letter D, and then D is split into 1 and 2? Yes. Now look at the words next to the number 2, and guess what you're going to see? You're going to see a form of this verb right here. Now, if you turn this into an English translation, you're going to see the covering. And in this document, the covering is definitely in reference to a bride. I mean, that's why he says it's advice to a bride and groom. It's the wife's covering. Okay? But we need to go on here. Can this verb be found in other documents? You betcha. It is found in Tacitus. Okay? Now, you have to go with the Latin translation because there is no Greek translation I was able to find. But if you go with the Latin translation, this Latin verb right here, I'm going to underline it, it's called operit, O-P-E-R-I-T. This one right here is the Latin form of, if you are translating this verb from Latin to Greek, you would come up with this right here. Covering here, covering here. And guess where you find this verb right here? You find it with a form of a word known as Flammeum. F-L-A-M-M-E-U-M. Okay? So, the combination of operit and Flammeum, which is translated in Latin as a wedding veil, this combination means that the woman was being covered with a wedding veil. But we need one more proof for this. Okay? And we're going to go on. Let's see. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to Juvenal. We have to go to book 2. I have a little thing on this, and I'll show you exactly where it is. If you'll take a look at the text, okay, now it's actually, okay, according to my notes here, it's book 2, chapter 2. You take a look at the lines between 120 and 125, and I will have the actual hyperlink to this so you can see this for yourself. Now, once again, you're going to see a form of this word right here, confirming that what you actually have is a wedding veil. You combine this with this, you get woman covering veil. And that is your combination. That proves, that is a second way to prove that what St. Paul was talking about in Corinthians chapter 11, verse 6 was the veil. But you need one more proof for this. You're like, wait a minute, one more? All right, now the last part of it, you have to read on a little further into 1 Corinthians, because he says that when a woman, a bride in this case, is covered with the veil, okay, she is honoring her head. Now, in that case, according to Genesis chapter 1 and 2, who is the head of the woman? Well, in that particular text, it's the man. Okay, it's the husband in this case. It's the husband. The head of the wife is the husband. That is how it's translated. Now, further proof of this can be found in 1 Corinthians chapter 14. When they said the women should be silent, that kind of thing. What did Paul say? He said, if you have a question about Christianity, you're supposed to ask your husband. How can you ask your husband if you don't have one? It doesn't work that way. So that is 3 separate ways to prove that the covering that the women were wearing in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 6 was the wedding veil. Therefore, the person that Paul was talking about in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 6 was a wife. She was not any ordinary lady. She was an actual wife. And so the instruction applied strictly to wives. You see how the proof actually works? That took a lot of digging, I can tell you that. And I wanted to make sure you guys understood how to locate all this. Okay? And now you can see exactly how to do that. I know that's one of the longest proofs I've ever had to do, but I was more than happy to do it. But now you can kind of see how we came up with this, where it came from. I did a lot of looking, and I did a lot of extensive research on this. So yes, there you go. And like I said, all of this is going to be in the description below so you guys can actually see it. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation. I hope you learned a lot from it. And now when you're reading these ancient texts, you'll be able to read them a little more clearly, especially if somebody references the text. You'll now know exactly how it's to be referenced. All right. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. Not too shabby, huh? Wow. Yeah. So, what did you think of my little presentation? Whew. Oh. Oh. You realize how hard that was? So what else? Oh, well, I wanted to kind of lure people into this. That's why I tried to reference the De Beers Corporation before I made the formal presentation. I wanted people to start thinking. And that's one of the things I do on this YouTube channel. I want people to think, and that's not easy. Trying to get people to think around here is really it may really surprise you to know this, but I have actually taken people up to photo kiosks, and I will tell them to touch the upper right corner of the screen, and they will touch any corner except the upper right. That just amazes me. It's like, are you kidding? they do this, and it's like, you know, maybe you should think about this before you do it. Oh well. Well, so, but yeah. But, yeah, one of these days soon, I've got to go up to the driver's division. I've got my driver's license. That's not the thing, but they've always advised me to have a ID card as well as a driver's license. That way, if I lose one, I still got the other. So I'm going to try to arrange to get that done. There's so much I need to get done. Sometime this week, I am going to actually put together my, I have these, what I do is I use the Microsoft Paint to make my HTML presentations. And then I use print screen, turn them into photos, and then I take those photos and I string them all together to make a video. And then I put up the presentation like that. And I need to do that with HTML lesson 158 to show people how to place, let's say you have a circle and you want to place 2 lines inside of it. Well, what you have to do is you have to get the SVG to draw the circle first and then draw the 2 lines inside. What you're doing is you're placing an object within an object. It'd be like if you were trying to, let's say you had a bathtub and you took a cube and you tried to toss it in the bathtub. You'd first have to have the bathtub, then you put the cube inside. Same kind of concept. Oh, I see. Well, what I was trying to get people to do, and I'll put it in the title of the video. I was trying to get them to, how shall I put this? I'll tell you the best way I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do it in the kind of the same way. Have you ever heard of James Burke? Okay. Back in the 70s, he did a television program called Connections. And he took one piece of history and interrelated it to another piece of history. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln actually met the guy who would eventually invent the Zeppelin, which in turn became the Hindenburg, which then in turn, you saw what happened to the Hindenburg. Okay. And James Burke would make all these little connections. Not only did he have, he actually did a series on public television back in the 70s. Then he revived the series back in the 90s on the Discovery Channel. He did that not once, but twice. And then he wrote a couple of books. And let me show you one of his books. That was real good. Ta-da! And if you go through the book, you'll see these odd connections that you're like, I never thought about those 2 items being connected. I'll tell you one. Did you know that the Montgolfier brothers are indirectly connected to the invention of the carburetor? Yeah, that's kind of a long story, but yeah, they are actually indirectly connected. It all involves a guy by the name of Joseph Lister, which, by the way, he didn't exactly invent Listerine. I bet you didn't know that. He invented, okay, the reason why it's interesting is you think to yourself, I would have never thought that the Montgolfier brothers had something to do with Joseph Lister, who then in turn has something to do with the invention of the carburetor of the car. You would never think that those three would have anything in common, but they do. And it's very fascinating what James Burke did. And I was trying to follow the same type of pattern. Nobody would ever think that wedding rings would have anything to do with first century customs. But back in the first century, when the head coverings that they were using, they didn't have De Beers back then. So people didn't wear wedding rings. To indicate to people that you were married, you had to have a head covering. But they didn't have wedding rings back then, so that's what they used. They, instead of having a wedding ring, which indicated you're married, you had the head covering instead. So, yeah, it would have been far more interesting if they'd had De Beers back then. I mean, they did have diamonds, but only the elite could afford that back in those days. I mean, come on. We're talking about the Roman Empire. Not a lot of people were very rich those days. You really had to know somebody to get that rich. So, yeah. But I just wanted to show people all that. They were like, okay. What happened? Oh. Well, I never thought about it, but I was trying to make some kind of connection. I was just trying to get people. I'm just trying to get people to think. Hopefully they did, and if they didn't, they can ask me, and I can, or they can just watch this live stream and they can kind of get it. But, oh, that's all right. Hey, you're making me think. I like it when people make me think. I'm going to turn this air conditioner to a more suitable level. Next time, I'll try to make a better connection. That's just the first thing that came to my mind. So, well, the main thing is, did you learn anything? I hope you learned something today. I really hope so. I hope my students do too. I really hope that they learn something valuable today. Because, I mean, that is actually the point of my channel. Oh, whoop. What is this with this? There you go. You know, one of these days when I perfect all this SVG stuff, I'll have better graphics, and then it'll look a lot better. We're still trying to work the Bezier curve thing out, and that is something that I will be talking to you about later this week. Hopefully, we'll see what my time is, but I'm going to try to get with you on that and see if we can make some better graphics and that kind of thing. So I'm not forgetting about you. So, whew. Oop. I don't know, my chat seems to go off every once in a while. Oh, there we go. Well, you might be able to help me with that too. It's nice to get this feedback, because a lot of times I don't get this kind of feedback, and I'm sitting here, I'm just kind of running on, well, like the James, what is it? The James, I think it was the James Brown. Maybe that was his name. No, Jackson Brown. Jackson Brown. That's who I'm thinking about. Running on empty. Sometimes I'm just running on empty. Please tell me I got that one right. I hate to really be wrong on that. Was that Jackson Brown? Oh, thank heavens. I was like, please. Because I'm thinking, okay, yeah. I get embarrassed on stuff like that. It's like, you know, I'm trying to think of who it was, and sometimes I don't get it right. But yeah, it's nice to have some decent feedback for a change. I'll tell you, it's been a long time since I had some really good feedback on this. So, but anyway, wow. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is one of the things I try to do, and I hope that some of these people are actually watching this live stream, even if they're not watching it live, but they're actually watching it at some point. When I watch some of their videos, the main reason I'm trying to... Oh, what I was trying to do is I was trying to get them to think about weddings. And I was trying to get them in the framework of weddings so that they could get the idea that this has something to do with brides and their head coverings. And when people think of wedding rings today, they should compare the wedding rings of today with the head coverings of the first century, because they would have been the equivalent. And I'm sorry I didn't explain that very well, but that was where I was going with that. Sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't. I hope I did, and if they ask me, I'll try to explain that a little bit better. Or they can just watch this live stream and they can learn from themselves. But one of the things I'm trying to get people to do when they make their videos is to make things that have questions in them. That way, when I ask the questions, if they answer them, then they will show how personable they are, and they'll more likely get views and subscribers because they're like, well, this person's going to respond back. Some people I've responded to, they never respond back. I don't know what it is today, but for some no reason. Okay. Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people about De Beers, and the ones that I've talked to, the first thing that pops up in their head, of course, I live in the Midwest, so Midwest people are a little strange, I can tell you that. But the ones that I talk here in the Midwest, if you bring up the De Beers, the first thing they think about is a wedding. That's the first thing they think about. So I guess I'm way too accustomed to the Midwest point of view. I mean, people around here, you mentioned De Beers, they're going to think wedding. That's just the thing I've been getting all along. But anyway, but different culture, different thinking. So Midwest is weird like that. I can tell you that right now. There's a lot of things that these people think that, you know, you probably would never think of. I remember, now I'm not kidding you, I had a debate not that long ago about the difference between somebody calling something a grilled cheese and a cheese toasty. And I'm sitting there going, seriously, this is what you think about? Honestly? Okay. So, yeah. Midwest is kind of weird that way. I mean, you know, these are the kind of people, at least the ones that I talk to, and I know I don't talk to everybody, but I do talk to several people, and they're kind of like, well, we're just sitting there at the Kmart and eating hot dogs and French fries and watching the breeze blow by. That's the kind of people these people are. I mean, I wish I could make... Oh, so you kind of know what I'm talking about here. Yeah. But yeah, I meet people like this. I mean, you know, they will sit there all day and look at a lake. I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't mind looking at a lake for an hour or two, but after a while, I might get a little bored. As a matter of fact, what people don't realize is that when you see me in real life, a lot of times you'll see me carrying books like this. I read books like this all the time. I am not kidding you. I will read books literally like this all the time. And it drives them nuts. It's like, oh, really? Like, yeah, because I just can't stand to be bored. When I discovered the art of speed reading and the memory techniques, I was like, I want to read everything in sight. I just couldn't take anymore. I wanted to read that's why I got such a big bunch of books. I am not kidding you. So that's the kind of person I am. Well, I will tell you this. I know this is going to come as quite a shock to you, but as much as I do read, I also play video games. I have Super Mario, Super Mario 2, Super Mario 3, Super Mario World. I have the first, second, third, and the Ocarina of Time from Legend of Zelda. I have all 8 of the Mega Man games, plus the first 6 of the Mega Man X games. And I do also have a copy of Earthbound. Now, you got to keep in mind here, I still have my Super Nintendo. I have my Nintendo 64, my GameCube. And you're thinking, whoa, you got a lot of stuff, don't you? Yep. So, I mean, that might come as quite a shock to you, but I do have the stuff. And whenever I get a chance to play, that's what I play. So, yeah. I also have a bicycle, but I've never gotten around to putting it together. The tires are not in good shape, and I need to totally revamp the tires and probably check the brake system, that kind of thing. I don't get a chance to ride a bike very often. Sad, but it's true. Do you ride a bike? So, wow. You know. Oh, I didn't even know you were married. Congratulations. How long have you been married? Bravo. Bravo. Good job. You get my seal of approval. I know that kind of reminds you of Don McLean in American Pie. I love that. I tell you what, not only do I like American Pie, but he also did a song called Vincent, and I love Vincent. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Don McLean's Vincent? It's a good song. It really is. I don't know. I'll have to check in on that. That might be a good memory video for me to teach my students how to memorize things. That's one of the things I'm trying to do, is to try to teach them how to memorize things in the Harry Lorraine techniques. And that's, yeah, I'll have to look up an article about that. Thanks for bringing that one up. I wasn't even aware. Yeah. A lot of people think that I sit there and watch TV all day. No, that doesn't happen. I do a lot of studying, and sometimes I miss things. It's like, oh, well, good. Yeah. Well, if you ever get a chance to listen to Don McLean's Vincent, you're going to love that too. It's really a nice song. Yep. So. Now, I had an uncle years ago. He's not with us anymore, but he was my uncle, and oh, I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting. Thanks for the info. I had no idea. Yeah. But anyway, I had an uncle, and this was before I had those memory techniques and that speed reading. He tried to get me to read on a regular basis, and so he got my family a subscription to the Reader's Digest, and I kept my Reader's Digest. That's why on some of those memory videos, I make references to the Reader's Digest. I wish that the jokes that were in those Reader's Digest, I wish I could find them on the Reader's Digest website. And if you ever do so, ask me sometime, and I may direct message those jokes to you, and maybe you can find them online, and that way I can make references to those. I've always wanted to do that, but I never could find the jokes, so I could show, hey, it's on so-and-so website, go look over here. You know, I may try to look those up myself, but I do actually have the issues of the Reader's Digest. I have them from early in the 1990s, almost to 2000, and a lot of people don't realize this, and I have them, and so, but yeah, I have a lot of unique stuff in my house. Oh, stupid. There. How shall I put this? If you're not utilizing Harry Lorraine's memory techniques in conjunction with the speed reading, you do lose comprehension. But if you put the two together, your comprehension, because what Harry Lorraine teaches you, amongst all the other things he teaches you, is how to be more observant. This is something I was trying to, are you aware that I have 4 Kindle books on Amazon Kindle right now? Yes. And when this live stream is over with, well, I don't even have to wait for that. Let me see if I can look that up real quick. Amazon. Give me just a second here. Let's see. Okay. Control-C. This is the hyperlink to my first book. Yes. And let's see. Oh. Son of a luck. Are you serious? Oh. Well, believe it or not, if you have a laptop or a smartphone, you can download the Kindle app to either one and you can still read the books. But I agree with you. The whole point of the key is logic is that it's supposed to augment your observation skills. I covered various topics in there. I covered the Michael Bloomberg soda pop debacle. There was a... If you ever watch the video entitled Dubstep, when you watch the video Dubstep on, and I'll spell out for you, D-U-B-S-T-E-P. If you ever watch that particular video, then if you look carefully, there's actually an error in it. And I mean, it looks like a romantic video, it really does. But if you watch a little more carefully, there's a very serious error in this. And people miss it completely. And I'm sitting going, okay, yeah, you've missed this one. And another topic I brought up was Coney 2012. I don't know whether you ever watched Coney 2012. There were two giant problems with Bloomberg's soda pop policy. And if you read the book, you'll see what those two problems were. And they're big. And nobody ever thinks about it until they really analyze the situation. But they were big. But I'll tell you one that I actually, hang on. I cover it now. I know. Have you ever? Let me back up a little bit. When I mention the name Dan Brown, you probably think of the Dan Brown from that the Dan Brown author from the I can't think of the Da Vinci Code. But that's not the Dan Brown I'm referring to. I'm referring to a because believe it or not, the two problems involve the environment and the economy. And if you think about it real carefully, you'll begin to see how the economy and the environment was going to be impacted by what Michael Bloomberg was doing. You're like, wait, I didn't think that those two factors would come into play. Yeah. But anyway, Dan Brown, he was not happy with digital rights management, okay? And so he was trying to illustrate to people that the DRM was bad for everybody. But it was the way he was trying to illustrate that got to be the problem. Well, if you read the book, you'll find out what the real problem was, because it would slip right past you unless you saw what I was talking about. But yeah, it's in my book. I hope you take a look at it and see what I was trying to do. It's in there. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to Dan Brown. Now, the way Dan Brown was trying to justify getting rid of this DRM, well, if I talk about it here, who'd buy the book? See what I mean? Yeah. I'm trying to get people to be curious enough to actually buy the book. I've actually had a few people actually buy it. So I'm going to show you this. Now, let me ask you. Dan Brown was trying to represent the supply of music on the internet with the infinity symbol. That's what this is supposed to be, is the infinity symbol. Okay. And then he was using the letter D to represent the demand for digital music. Now, can you tell me what's wrong with that equation? Well, the problem, actually, that's not it. Let me try to translate this a little bit better for you. Let's suppose that we decide that instead of an infinity symbol, we use a blueberry pie. Now, obviously, demand is like 6 people. Now tell me, if this is a blueberry pie and this is 6 people that, well, no, wait a minute, that's wrong. Oops, I wrote this wrong. Whoops. me rewrite this. That's wrong. That was written, boy, I should have written it like this. I'll give this one away because I screwed up. Oh, that looks like a pretzel. Oops. I wrote that absolutely wrong. That's not the way he wrote it. I'm sorry. My mistake. The way he wrote it, he wrote it like this. I'm sorry. I wrote it the wrong way. He wrote it like this. And if D is representing the number of people, and the pi is right here, and this represents the pi, well, since when have you seen a blueberry pie attack people? That's what his problem was. Instead of saying that the supply is to be divided up by the demand, he was saying that the demand was supposed to be divided up by the supply. And that was the problem. I bet you didn't even notice that. And a lot of people didn't. And I was really shocked that somebody didn't pick that up right away. Like, are you kidding me? But I will say that I agree with you about obesity. That obesity had nothing to do with the economic and ecological. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, at least now you know what Dan Brown did wrong. But the obesity was not an issue for me. I understand him trying to do something about obesity, but if you'll think about it or you read my book, you'll see how the economy and the environment would have been adversely affected by what Bloomberg was doing. And I explain this thoroughly in my book. But another video I'd like for you to check out is Coney 2012. He makes 2 giant errors in his 6-minute introduction. 2 of them. And people, when they watch it, they don't pick up on it. I couldn't believe how many people just did not pick up on those errors. And I was like, are you kidding me? But Coney 2012 made those errors, and I could not believe what the errors were. I was like, are you kidding me? But there were others. Do you know how many people do not know Isaac Newton's first law of motion? That's going to come as quite a shock to you. In knowing Isaac Newton's first law of motion would solve a lot of problems here in the United States. I actually went into the book when I wrote it, and I told people how Isaac Newton's first law of motion applies to a comet. And once you begin to realize that, you begin to realize what the problem was that I was addressing. You're like, oh, that's what it was. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, every video that I talk about in my Kia's logic book, you'll be sitting there going, I never thought about that being a problem. I never guessed that might be a problem. And people just don't observe it. So hopefully you'll get a chance to read it. I know it's not a very long book, but it does cover several things. And there are links to all kinds of pages of stuff that you will be able to see. You'll be like, oh, I didn't know that existed. I have 3 others out there. One's called The Artificial Frontal Lobe. That is the second book I have. The third book is entitled What Jesus Didn't Do. And the fourth book, let me type that one in. Let's see. No, that was... let me see if I can remember that one. Well, I'll tell you what. Read my book and see what I said, and then we'll talk about it. I promise you. You read my book, I will be more than happy to talk about it and go into it. I promise you. This is something you may not even be aware of, but yeah, please go ahead, read the book. But I have a fourth book. The title of it is There's the title of the fourth one. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a couple things to think about. First clue is, how shall I do this? Okay. Oh, let me think. Let me think how I want to word this. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. When you buy a soda pop at a restaurant and they put it in the plastic cup or the paper cup, either way, what do you do with the plastic cup or the paper cup once you've drank the soda? What do you do? Okay. Okay. What do many other people, now not everybody's like you, okay? What do many other people do with their paper and plastic cups once they're done with them? Well, I wish I could say the same thing around here, because a lot of the people that I meet, that's not what they do. Okay, what do you think that people around me usually do? What do you think they do with their paper and plastic cups? It's kind of shameful. Ah, now you're thinking. Now you're thinking. Right. Now then, well, let me ask you another question, okay? Let's say that, hypothetically speaking, you wrote a book. Oh, I agree there are ways to fix that, but the first thing you have to fix is people's minds. That's not as easy as you like to think. I mean, it can be done, but it's not very easy to get people to think about recycling. I know a lot of people that I've worked with them for years, and it's like, oh, I'm still trying to get them to push the right button on the kiosk. Oh, I agree. I 100% agree with you. Unfortunately, you know, as you well know, Midwesterners can be pretty stubborn sometimes. But here's another question for you. Let's say hypothetically you printed up a bunch of books. Let's say you wanted to sell books at a bookstore and you printed up a bunch of them. but you never could get them to sell. Well, did you ever make money off the books? I mean, if you can't sell them, do you make money off of them? Of course not. Yeah. See, when you make, oh, okay. Well, what I was trying to illustrate here is that when you actually physically construct, well, what I was trying to say is that when you physically construct a bunch of books and they don't sell, that's an economic loss to you, because if you can't get them to sell, you just have a bunch of books that are just sitting on your shelf, and then they, you know, well, they can even rot for that matter. So can you see kind of the economic side of what would happen? Well, that's true. But if we apply the same logic to the restaurant owners who now can no longer sell those cups because they're not allowed to anymore, what do you think is going to happen to them? They take a loss. Now, some of them may be able to write it off as a tax write-off. But what if they can't? Then what happens? Yeah, but if the law had actually passed, they've already bought the cups. Now what do they do with them? See what I mean? They can't sell them. So now what do they do with them? Up to a point, it depends on where they bought the cups from and what contract they signed with them. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. But even if they were able to return it back to the original manufacturer, what's the manufacturer going to do with these cups? They can't sell them. I mean, what are they going to do with them? See, it finally gets to a complication at some point. And that, well, you'd hope so. You'd hope so. But of course, I deal with Illinois. I don't deal with New York, but I can tell you right now, Illinois wouldn't give them a break. I know those people. Those people in Illinois, they're really messed up. So, like I said, I don't know how New York City would take that, but Illinois wouldn't give them a break at all. Matter of fact, the only thing breaking in this state is our local economy. I am not kidding you. The state of Illinois doesn't have a whole lot of money left. As a matter of fact, some people think that they're going to start merging with Indiana. That's how bad it is in this state. It's unbelievable, but you know, there's been talk about that for a couple of years now. So, like I said, it just depends on who's. But these are the kinds of things that I was trying to bring up in my book. And I think now you can see where this observation, the whole thing was not about who was right, who was wrong. It was more about seeing things from a new perspective. Now can you see some of the things that that's true. That's absolutely true. I'm just saying if the situation had happened here instead of New York City, that would be a different story. I don't know enough about Bloomberg to make, you know, I just don't know enough about Bloomberg, but I do know about Chicago and Springfield and how they run. It's not fun. Really isn't fun here. So, but the whole key of logic book is to, I would have to know more about him to I couldn't assess him because I don't know that much about him. All I knew was the soda pop debacle that a lot of people just never gave it a thought of what might happen. They were looking at all the positives, but they never thought about the environmental and economic impact that this might have. And it's something I dealt with a while back with Andrew Wyatt. And when I talked to him about, well, might have, I don't know. I just know it definitely wouldn't have worked here. It'd have been such a disaster. It'd have been, yeah. But people don't think about this kind of stuff. And that was the whole point of the Key is Logic book, is to get people to think about things that they may not have ever thought about before. To open their eyes, to be more observant, to think, hey, I think I've heard that name before, but I couldn't tell you anything about the guy because other than the name, I don't know that much about him. Of course, then again, I've never been out of Illinois. I mean, you know, I've taken a couple of trips to Iowa, and I did take a trip to Indianapolis, and I did take a trip to St. Louis one time, but I've never really been out of the Midwest, so I don't know. Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, see, I live downstate. I mean, I live about 300 miles away from Chicago. Let me tell you something. Where I live, if there was a bright side to the universe, I'm the farthest away from it. Good Star Wars quote. I had to share that one with you. That was just too easy. So there you go. Like I said, I didn't know him very well. Oh, I didn't know that either. That's sad. That's really sad. Yeah. Well, I hope you get a chance to read The Key is Logic, and let me know what you think. I'd like to hear your feedback on it. And The Artificial Frontal Lobe, I hope you get a chance to read that too, and let me know what you think. I will be publishing some other books in the not so distant future. The first thing I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to fix my YouTube ratings so I can finally get them high enough where I get back on the partnership program. Then I will start writing more books and covering things. Some of the things you might be interested in, some of them you may not. So, but yeah. Whew. It actually costs you nothing. What they do is they take part of the revenue from your book. That's why I had to charge $5, because if I had charged less, I wouldn't have had to make pennies on the dollar. Literally. I might have made 10 cents or something. Whereas this way I can actually make $1. But I don't make very much off these books. I really don't. You'd think I make more than I do, but I make about $1. Yeah, they get most of it. That's why it's a free service. It's the same type of deal with Patreon. I hardly get anything out of that either. You think I'd be? It's like I am no millionaire by any means. A lot of people. I've had a lot of people say, "Well, you're a millionaire." I'm like, no, I'm really not. I wish I could say that, but I'm not. So. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to read any of my Kindle books, I'd love to hear your review. Love to hear what you have to say. They're not the most exciting books in the world, but they do talk about a lot of stuff that some of this I've covered here on YouTube. Some of it I haven't. And I think some of the stuff you're going to be really surprised about. Yeah, I do have one, but that's about it. I don't go there very often. I should do more of that. I'm going to hopefully get to do more of that. What I should do is I should put excerpts of my Kindle, my next Kindle books up there. I do have Kindle books already in the works. I just have never gotten finished. And I should put excerpts of that on my Patreon. And I probably will in the not too distant future. One of the things I'd like to do is to finish up my medical terminology lessons. I'd like to have those up there and then let people see them and learn from them and that kind of thing. So feel free. Check all this out. Oh boy, I had a kind of a long day today. Hey, you're quite welcome. If I do a live stream tomorrow night, it'll be around 9 o'clock. We'll cover the closed captioning, okay? I will. All right. Well, good night to you. And I think I'm going to cut off this live stream myself because I got to get this video published and on the air and so on and so forth. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I think you've learned a lot from me. I think you'll be able to see the Kindle book the way it is. And I'm going to tell everybody some more stuff, hopefully tomorrow night. And until then, you guys have a great evening and stay tuned.